With a massive PvP nerf, Bungie created the most powerful PvE build for Void Hunters. I guess we can't say that PvE always suffers because of PvP anymore. This build is ridiculous with how many things you get out of it. It's honestly one of the most broken, overpowered builds that we've ever seen. It has infinite volatility for massive explosions, unlimited devour for constant healing with endless amounts of ability energy, multiple debuffs, supercharged weapon damage, and you can even tailor this build to exploit the huge overshield buff Bungie made at the start of the season. If you like this type of build, I have a lot more on Patreon for as little as $9. I also have a free weekly newsletter every Friday called Loot Pursuit, where I share my best Destiny content. Links to both of those are in the description below. I'm going to quickly run through the full build so we can spend more time on how it works and how you can tailor it in the overpowered direction that you choose. For abilities, you can use whatever you like. I'm going to use Deadfall since it's the strongest debuff in the game now. You could use Mobius Quiver instead if you wanted more damage. I use Gambler's Dodge for melee energy, which lets you throw more debuffs out. You could also go Marksman instead, and you'll never need to reload. And then finally, I use Vortex Grenade for another debuff with high uptime. The aspects you need are Vanishing Step and Stylish Executioner. Vanishing Step makes you invisible when you dodge, and Stylish Executioner makes you invisible when you kill any Void 3.0 debuff target. So basically anything that's weakened from your melee, super, or grenade, or anything that's killed while having volatile rounds up indefinitely. You have a few options for Fragments since you have 4 open slots. The ones that I think are the most powerful are Echo of Starvation, Echo of Expulsion, Echo of Undermining, and then either Echo of Reprisal or Echo of Remnants. Starvation is the only way to proc Devour on Hunter. Once it's active, you'll infinitely refresh this buff's timer whenever you get a kill. Expulsion makes your ad clear massive. Undermining makes your Vortex Grenade debuff targets. And I like Echo of Reprisal for more super energy, but Echo of Remnants is also good too. It makes your Vortex Grenade last longer, so then you can debuff targets for longer. What makes this build so overpowered is the Gerfalcon's Hubrik exotic chest piece. Your void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible. When you are invisible and defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons gain bonus damage. You and your nearby allies gain a reserve overshield and improve class ability regeneration. Basically, your void weapons will always have volatile rounds active, causing massive explosions. Then you get extra damage and give overshields and class ability energy to yourself and your allies when you use a finisher while invisible. For your armor mods, you're going to want a solar helmet with harmonic siphon, ashes to assets, and font of might. On a void pair of gloves, use bolstering detonation, elemental armaments, and then any champion mod for the content that you're running. On your void Gerfalcon's exotic, run any 2 damage resistance mods. You could stack up the same mod, run 2 separate ones, or use the seasonal ones on your artifact. For the combat mod here, use Well of Tenacity. On a solar pair of boots, use Innervation, Recuperation, and then Bountiful Wells. On a stasis class item, use Utility Kickstart, Monochromatic Maestro, and Elemental Time Dilation. If you want to make this build more your own, there's a bunch of different seasonal artifact mods that you can swap in. There's the Unstoppable Grenade Launcher mod with the Weaken Clear mod for a grenade launcher focused build. This would be really good in champion content like Heist Battlegrounds or Nightfalls. Your grenade launcher would stun unstoppable champions and debuff bosses and champs. You could also swap in Lord Kelvin's Basilisk or Low Entropy Superconductor when they're not bugged. These mods let you stun Overload or unstoppable champions without needing to restrict your weapon loadout. Most of this season's mods are really strong and would fit in great with this build if you wanted to use them. The build I recommend though is going to work in any season. You also have so many different weapons to choose from with this build. Fighting Lion is amazing because it's a void grenade launcher with infinite ammo. This would be great if you swap in the grenade launcher mods. Lemon Arc is also a really good option so you always have overload rounds. There's also Collective Obligation, which is really powerful for spreading more Void 3.0 debuffs around, but it's a little overkill since volatile rounds is always active anyway. My favorite weapons to use are anything with Repulsor Brace. The pinnacle weapon this season is a guaranteed weapon with that perk. The Wilderflight Grenade Launcher from the new dungeon is great if you want a legendary option instead of Fighting Lion. This season, the new Trials hand cannon called Exalted Truth and the Ikelos hand cannon from the seasonal activity are perfect for unstoppable rounds, but the duality quality dungeon SMG called Unforgiven is easily my favorite if you get Feeding Frenzy with Repulsor Brace. There is just a ton of really good void weapons for this build. Pick your favorite void weapon because everything in this build revolves around it. Usually builds these days are all about ability spam first, and then gunplay is just an afterthought. With Gerfalcons, it's all about weapons, which is when Destiny is at its best. You start this build's gameplay loop by dodging to go invisible. Once you're invisible, you'll immediately come out of it as soon as you start shooting your void weapon. The bullets you shoot will have volatile rounds, and you'll go invisible again after every volatile kill. Going invisible and then getting void weapon kills is the simple two-step gameplay loop for infant volatility, invisibility, and devour. But let's take it even further. Orbs of power are raining like crazy from your void weapon kills. These orbs proc devour, give you super and grenade energy, and some healing. On every kill, devour gets refresh, which gives more healing and ability energy. These void weapon kills also spawn void elemental wells. In fact, they spawn 2 at a time because of the elemental armaments mod and the bountiful wells mod. Picking up these void wells buff your void weapon damage by 25% from the Font of Might mod. You get even more void weapon damage if you use a finisher on an enemy while invis. Dim says that this buff from Gerfalcons is 35%. You also get another 10% from Monochromatic Maestro if you deal damage with a void ability. That is a massively supercharged void weapon right there, but that's not all. These void wells also proc Well of Tenacity, which is a modest 10% damage reduction for 6 seconds. It's actually 9 seconds because of the elemental time dilation mod, but each void well you pick up refreshes this timer. As you see in the gameplay, and when you start using this build yourself, you're making a ton of void wells. So you're constantly keeping volatile rounds active on your void weapons, you're shooting everything to spread this volatility around, and watching dozens of explosions happen. Echo of Expulsion makes even more explosions from your void abilities. Devour gives you a ton of these, and Gerfalcons makes even more. One kill basically sets off a chain reaction of explosions that kill everything nearby. These kills both spawn more orbs of power and void wells, but also infinitely keep Devour, invisibility, and volatility active. We also can't forget about all of the debuffs in this build. Vortex grenades, snare bombs, and deadfall tethers also apply the weakened debuff. Tether is a 30% debuff, while vortex grenades and snare bombs are only 15%. That 15% though is almost always active since you have so many abilities to spam. Oh, and I almost forgot, if you're using a repulsor brace weapon, you literally will never run out of overshields. Bungie buffed overshields to reduce all incoming damage by 50%. You can also make extra overshields for yourself and allies. When you finish an enemy while invisible, just use your dodge and everyone nearby gets an overshield. This build sounds like you need to do a ton of things to make it work, but actually it's a very simple 2-step rotation that makes a million different things happen. Use your dodge to become invisible, start killing enemies with your void weapon, and that's it. Every void weapon kill from here on out will proc infinite devour, invisibility, and volatility. You'll also have infinite 15% debuffs from all of your ability energy that you're getting, and infinite overshields if you're using a repulsor brace weapon. If you like this build, subscribe to the channel and check out the weekly newsletter I share called Loot Pursuit. There's a ton of builds for you to fall in love with there, and thanks for watching.